Kendrick. Did you hear that, Kendrick?
Yes.
Why do you feel that way?
Life.
In a world where mainstream music often scratches the surface, Kendrick Lamar's songs acts like a mirror into our souls, such as my favorite track off GNX, Reincarnated. I believe that this is more than just a song. I believe it's a sermon, a meditation, and a conversation with God.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Book of Dre. I'm your host Dre, and today we are going to be doing a deep dive into Kendrick Lamar's song Reincarnated, what it's about, what it means, and what us as the listener can take from it. However, before the video starts, I would really appreciate it if you guys head over to my podcast channel. I'm going to be having some episodes releasing soon. Also, make sure to follow me on all my socials and also my Twitch because I'm going to be streaming as well. Now, with all that out the way, let's get right into this deep dive. At its heart, Reincarnated is about transformation, about killing your old self and being reborn. Kendrick mentions how he is reincarnated 3 times throughout the song. Kendrick claims that his first life was that of Jimi Hendrix. You can see this where he talks about using his guitar a lot. And then the second incarnation is Whitney Houston.
Kendrick also makes a mention of needles and brown sugar, which I'm guessing is him referencing his past lives where he was addicted to these things. Now, like myself and others, I feel like this song isn't just symbolic, but I feel like I have a spiritual connection to it. The way Kendrick hints that every day he is born with a new version of himself, and how at the end of the song where he talks about his temptation and his urges, it really deeply connects to someone who is trying to get closer to God. However, their urges and temptations just get the best of them at all times. Now, here's another reference at the concept of flesh for soul.
For those who might not understand what that means, I can explain it from the perspective of a Christian. Us Christians were always taught that our sinful desires does not come from our soul. Rather, it comes from our flesh, and we are bound to it until obviously we rise.
Now, Paul writes in Galatians 5:17, "For the flesh desires what is contrary to the spirit, and the spirit what is contrary to the flesh."
Now, Kendrick wrestles with this reality throughout the whole song, further showing his struggle to choose God over temptation, which is also something that many Christians and people of other religions suffer from. Now again, in our modern day life, sin surrounds us. You can go on social media, you can listen to the most popular music, you can even go look at advertisements and commercials, and all you will see is anything that will lead you to sin. Whether it's something that will make you lust, whether it is something that will fuel your pride and ego, or something that makes you want to indulge in it. However, even the Bible and Kendrick states in this song that the only way to get closer to God is to surrender. Surrender your will. Stop taking control of yourself. Now here, Kendrick refers to the valleys of life, where God feels the most distant. In other words, you know those times where you're praying and it feels like you're almost praying to a wall, and it's almost like you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders? Kendrick makes the point that it is during these times where your own search for God is the most authentic and real, because at that point, you need help. Now, the Bible also talks about this in Psalms 23:4. "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." I believe Kendrick's making the point that God's presence is at its clearest when we're at our weakest. Now, Kendrick also talks about the idea of accountability. In one verse, he questions his own life, whether he's living according to God's will or not. This self-reflection is another thing that's seen in the Bible. In James 1:23-24, it warns us against being someone who will look in the mirror and forget their own reflection. Now, Kendrick is holding up that mirror, but not just to himself, but to us, the listeners. Now, obviously, reincarnated does not mean the literal form of being dead and coming back to life. Instead, I believe Kendrick is talking about the spiritual cycles we all go through in our lives, such as letting go of old sins, letting go of old habits, letting go of old people, and stepping into a new, which mirrors what 2 Corinthians 5:17 says. "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone and the new is here." Now, Kendrick's journey is deeply personal. However, it is also very universal because many people, even like myself, deal with the same things that Kendrick talks about in the song. However, Kendrick reminds us that the path of getting closer to God is very painful, very messy, very vulnerable, and at times it feels like we're taking 1 step forward, but 2 steps back. But that's what Reincarnated teaches us. That each stumble and each failure is an opportunity to rise again, stronger, wiser, and closer to God. Now here, Kendrick's acknowledging the role of God's grace. It is not through our own strength that we transform. Rather, it's through God's. Grace is what bridges the gap between our imperfections and God's perfection. So, what does Kendrick Lamar's Reincarnated teach us about getting closer to God? It's a call to examine our hearts, self-reflect, confront our struggles, and trust in the process of renewal. Transformation isn't an instant thing. It's a lifelong journey. But Kendrick reminds us that each of those struggles are worth it. And with each cycle of falling and rising, we come closer to the divine purpose for which we are created. This is the power of Kendrick's music. It invites us not just to listen, but to live differently. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Head over to my podcast channel, follow all my socials, follow my Twitch, and may God be with you all.